Okay, we're going to do a critique on the bolt-action hunting or sporting rifle. Chances are, especially if you live in a state that bans military style firearms with detachable magazines and certain features, the most common firearm you will find in someone's home or around is a bolt-action sporting rifle. Now, I covered the Winchester Model 94 and the SKS because they are very common guns. But say, probably one of the things you will find somewhere is some sort of bolt-action rifle with a scope, without a scope, whatever. But it'll either be something you inherited from your dad or something, or just something that a lot of people have, something like this, that really aren't into guns, gun collecting, prepping, or anything like that. So in time of a crisis, this would be something you would find pretty much common weapon. And like anything, when we look at this, there's going to be two tiers with a gun like this. So let's start off. Let's start with the conversation. Shit hits the fan, okay? Now, the thing about these, like I just explained, are common, you'll find one. And I have two examples here. I have a TC Compass in 308 Winchester, which is also the same chambering of the 7.62 by 55 NATO. And I have on the lower gun here a Savage Access that is in 223 Remington, or your 55 grain AR-15 food. Okay. Now, these two guns are in a caliber that in a crisis, anybody with a 7.62 NATO or an AR-15 is common ammo, okay, in a situation. So you will find that common ammo more than, say, 30-30 Winchester, 30-06, or say something off the wall like 300 Savage or 7mm Weatherby belted Magnum rounds, okay. That takes this class of gun in odd caliber and drops it down to like a 4 if it's some bizarre caliber. Say it was 270 or a more common cartridge, 30-06, something like that. That'll probably bring it up to a 6. But something like these two in the NATO round, and the AR-15 round, it kind of brings them up to about a 9. And it's because of the ammunition commonality of what's going to be out there. And like I said, if you live in an area where military type rifles are outlawed, limited, or, you can't own them, then these two would be a good choice in those calibers for that reason. Okay, so that's kind of a stepped evaluation. Hunting, 10. Okay, because that's what these are. If you look these up, these are hunting rifles. The 308 Winchester is great for, large game. Up to, you can get ammunition in a gun like this. You take a moose or an elk or something maybe. But deer hunting, black bear, whatever, got it. The 5.56 or the 223 is a good varmint gun, coyotes, groundhogs, whatever. You may be able to clip a deer with one of these. Actually, this is what the poachers use to kill deer in the off-season. So more of a varmint type of cartridge there. So yes, hunting. Home defense. Home defense, you know, like I said, unless you're out on a farm or an estate or somewhere where you got a ton of land, these high-powered rifles are really not a good home defense thing. You know, kind of give it a, like I said, by the circumstance. If you're out in the country and out in the middle of nowhere, yes, home defense is scores like, 7, 8. If you're in the city or the suburbs or something, very low, like a 4. This would not be a good gun whatsoever or a practical weapon for home defense. General purpose shooting, even though these guns are nice and I take them out every now and again because of the cost of soft point sporting ammo, other than sighting in or trying to keep proficient, some like these here sat for years, so I took them out. Did some 100, 200 yard shooting just for the hell of it to see what they would do. And, yeah, you can do it, but unless you're really into hunting and go out and work up a hand load and shoot some rounds through it for the season, you're probably not going to see a high volume of ammo go through these guns. Okay, so general purpose shooting, going to give that like a 7. Alright, depends on what you're into. Okay, if hunting's your number one thing, then yeah, if you do a lot of hunting, you're going to shoot these rifles a lot more. Me, it's on rare occasions to either test ammo or compare this gun to another caliber or something in my experimentation. Collector's item. Okay, most commercially produced sporting rifles or hunting rifles are not really collectible unless you're talking very high-end firearms that are up into the thousands of dollars in value, then something like that, or an unusual model or make that is limited production. You're not going to see the common guns like this as collector's items. Okay, so going to give collector's item, give it a 5. There are some sporting rifles that are desirable and demand a high premium, but that's kind of a specialized niche thing there, collectible. Ammo, price, and availability. Now, generally guns like this, they will shoot mil surplus ammo, these two calibers, but there is no mil surp ammo for like a 6.5 Creedmoor or whatever. So you're shooting higher priced or specialized ammo, and there are a lot of options when it comes to ammo for these guns. You can get a lot of specialized rounds designed for either accuracy, distance, or expansion, and specifically for taking game. It is not like us mil-surp guys that just put full metal jacket ammo and shoot at targets. It's a little bit more precision shooting and on a lower round count. But there is all sorts of ammunition. If you're a hand loader, then you got the whole world open to you there, but you can also off the shelf buy ammo in a wide variety of things, but the cost will be probably the most expensive ammo cost there is buying the customized specialty ammo. So ammo's available at this point in time, but the price is kind of high, so we're going to set that down as a 6. Okay, and that's just the way it goes there. Reliability. Now these here are considered budget guns, even though this odd one here is the older Savage Axis had a wooden stock. They don't make these anymore. The weak point of these guns is and these are budget guns. These guns were all priced at about 3 C notes at one time, some even with the scope. But the biggest failing point of all of these is they have these plastic magazines, and a lot of the detachable polymer mags some models do break. That's a weak point on there. As far as the bolt, the action, and all that, you know, is pretty reliable. It's the weaknesses in the magazines and the fact that they were budget price guns. The scopes are adequate but not the best. These things are usually available without a scope or with the scope package. Okay, so that's another unusual thing about it. Now, if you have an older gun or something else that's, you know, a little bit more well made or a higher price tier of firearm, okay, you're probably going to have a fairly reliable gun. All right, but many gun makers have kind of lowered the price point by using synthetic stocks and simpler detachable magazines, which is a weak point. So reliability, we're going to score. I haven't had any problems, but some people are pretty rough with guns and they do break quite easily. I'm going to have to give that a 6 on that point. But if you do buy a high quality firearm that's all made out of metal, like with a Mauser design or something, and pay up to a K for it, that's going to go up. Bolt action rifles generally do not break down or anything like that. It's going to go up to a 9, okay, on that. Or if you have a older gun or a converted military gun, you know, then it's going to be a 9 on reliability. Parts, repair, and accessories. On these types of rifles, you know, scopes, mounts, everything is available. You can get, they do sell these detachable mags because they have a tendency to break. And I believe if you go to Boyd's, you can find some sort of a stock or something to replace the polymer ones or go with a wooden one or something. So yeah, I'm going to give that for parts, repair, accessories, give that kind of an 8. You know, you may not find exactly what you want, or some of these things could be hard to find if they're out of production, like these TC compasses are no longer in production. Okay, and the reason they were a budget gun and that is when they closed out, they dropped the price on them and sold them for virtually nothing. So. But the Savage Axis, I don't believe there'd be an issue there. So that's what we're going to go with that. You know, overall cost and value, like I said, when it comes to these hunting, sporting, bolt-action guns, you could... Oh, that's a plastic sticking up there. You know, you could go in the budget range. It's still about... Now it's 4.5C. Is what the going rate on these were. It was quite a few years ago when I did the series on checking out these budget hunting guns, and they were about 3 to 3.5C then. Now that's up to 4C. You can still catch sales, and saying getting a used one, they kind of, they hold up, they hold their value pretty good, because I've been looking for some used rifles in a certain caliber. Haven't really looked that hard, but they just don't pop up or are available. So they do hold their value, and they're pretty accurate. Both of these firearms are fairly accurate and, you know, function well without any mechanical issues other, like I said, than the weak point, the magazine. So there you have it. It's another gun, something to think about, and like I said, if you get them in the calibers, the 308 Winchester 223, then you will, those are some of the common calibers, like 9mm, 12 gauge, shotgun shells and that. It would be easy to find ammunition in a time of crisis, like I said, other than some real fancy cartridges. Say like I said, 300 Savage or you know, one of the belted magnums or something, some real specialty calibers. So it would be a good idea to get one in the military caliber, and then it's a pretty useful thing. All right, thank you, and stay tuned.